This video includes graphic footage. Viewer discretion is advised. In a moment that would go down in history, January 27th, 1908 witnessed the entrance of a 34-year-old man onto a theater stage in St. Louis, Missouri. With his hands bound by handcuffs, he stepped out from behind the curtain to a resounding wave of applause. It was to be his inaugural live performance, but there was an air of tranquility about him. On the stage stood an oddly oversized milk can, filled to the brim with water, poised to play a pivotal role in an extraordinary performance. Once the audience had settled into their seats, the man on stage directed his attention to the colossal milk can. Ascending a modest ladder, he embarked on a deliberate descent, lowering himself into the can, his feet leading the way. As he immersed himself, the water spilled over, creating a small spectacle on the stage. With only his face visible to the mesmerized crowd, the man cast a quick glance towards his assistants, anxiously awaiting their cue in the theater's wings. In a simple gesture, he conveyed his preparedness to commence. With seamless precision, the assistants advanced towards the middle of the stage, sealing the man's fate by firmly shutting the lid of the milk can, submerging him in the watery depths. A collective gasp reverberated through the audience, their breaths suspended in eager anticipation. Engrossed by the unfolding spectacle, they watched as the assistants secured the lid, employing 6 distinct locks atop the can. To further shroud the enigma, a cabinet was deftly maneuvered into place, obscuring the can from prying eyes. The crowd, entranced and stirred, found themselves engaged in hushed murmurs, utterly spellbound by the extraordinary display. Whispering amongst themselves, the audience contemplated the audacious endeavor unfolding before their eyes, questioning the possibility of the man's survival. Yet, a mere 2 minutes after the lid had been tightly sealed, the 34-year-old emerged from the depths, his arms outstretched, unencumbered by handcuffs and unscathed. The cabinet, once concealing the enigma, yielded to the side, unveiling the securely locked lid of the milk can. Throughout his lifetime, the baffling enigma of Harry Houdini's escape from such perilous confines remained unsolved. These daring feats propelled Harry to unparalleled fame, leaving an indelible mark on our collective fascination even to this day. His enduring legacy endures to this day, nearly a century after his demise. Yet it wasn't solely Harry Houdini's remarkable execution of these audacious acts that captivated audiences. It was his unwavering attitude during these performances that truly distinguished him. Houdini emanated an air of undaunted fearlessness, as if no challenge was too daunting for him to conquer. Yet, hidden beneath his confident facade, there was one specific stunt that filled him with absolute terror. Eventually, he mustered the courage to undertake this particular challenge. However, in the midst of performing it, panic seized him, and he found himself gripped by fear. He had to be rescued by his assistants, and from that moment on he vowed never to attempt that particular stunt again. For decades, no one else dared to venture into the realm of that dangerous feat, as if Harry Houdini's failure cast an indomitable shadow over it. However, in 1990, a bold and determined 32-year-old by the name of Joe Burrus emerged from the shadows, ready to conquer the infamous challenge. Joe, a relatively obscure children's magician hailing from Fresno, California, possessed an unyielding belief that he would not only follow in Houdini's footsteps, but surpass him, leaving an indelible mark on the world of magic and escapism. Arriving in style, Joe and his family stepped out of the white limousine he had arranged for their grand entrance. They made their way across the parking lot, greeted by an eager crowd, eagerly anticipating Joe's daring feat. The buzz of excitement filled the air as the crowd recognized the significance of the moment. Joe had heavily advertised the event, and it had become the talk of Fresno. Not only would it be televised live, but it would also be broadcasted on a local radio station. The stage was set for Joe to make his mark on history. The crowd erupted in cheers as Joe approached, generating a wave of excitement throughout the venue. His highly publicized stunt had captured the attention of Fresno, with live television coverage and a local radio broadcast amplifying the anticipation. Accompanied by his family, Joe confidently made his way through the enthusiastic crowd towards the stage, ready to embark on his extraordinary performance. Filled with anticipation, the audience watched intently as Joe ascended the impromptu stage, capturing their attention with his impassioned speech. The atmosphere was electric, with every eye fixed on him as he conveyed his determination to surpass the legendary Harry Houdini. Exuding confidence, Joe signaled to his assistants with a determined gesture, indicating that the moment had arrived to embark on the audacious feat. The stage was set for an extraordinary spectacle, with television cameras poised to capture every moment. The assistants swiftly fastened shackles around Joe's wrists and secured chains tightly around his body. The anticipation in the air was palpable as the preparations for the daring act unfolded before the eager eyes of the audience. With utmost care, the transparent plastic coffin was positioned precisely, and Joe was gently lowered into its confined space. Adjacent to the coffin was a pre-dug hole spanning 7 feet. It would be in this very hole that Joe would be buried, encapsulated by the weight of the earth. The audacious stunt he had meticulously planned was no ordinary feat. It was an escape from the clutches of being buried alive. Drawing inspiration from the legendary Harry Houdini, who had previously undertaken a similar challenge, Joe aimed to surpass his predecessor's achievements. Houdini, despite freeing himself from the coffin, encountered insurmountable difficulty breaking through the unyielding soil, succumbing to a state of panic. It was only through the timely intervention of his assistants that he survived. Surprisingly, Joe had previously attempted a practice run of the stunt with less dirt and emerged victorious, boosting his self-assurance. Determined to outshine Houdini, he raised the bar for his televised performance by adding 3 feet of dirt and 4 feet of wet cement to the challenge. Despite numerous warnings and objections from TV and radio personalities, as well as onlookers, Joe was determined to surpass his predecessor by pushing the boundaries of the stunt to new heights. From the depths of the coffin, Joe locked eyes with his assistants standing above him. The moment had arrived. With unwavering determination, he signaled his readiness, his voice echoing through the air as he declared his readiness to his team. With excitement and anticipation, Joe's team began shoveling dirt into the hole. However, after only a few minutes and with only a fraction of the intended depth reached, they heard Joe's panicked shouts emanating from inside the coffin. Instantly, all activity ceased, and the staff swiftly intervened, removing the dirt until they could pry open the coffin lid. To their relief, Joe was alive, albeit visibly shaken. As he sat up, he expressed the issue, stating, "The chain around my neck is too tight. You need to readjust it As the spectators listened to Joe's words and observed his demeanor, a new perception started to take shape. It became increasingly evident to them that Joe might have underestimated the gravity of the stunt, the immense danger it posed. The audience, instead of accepting Joe's explanation about the tight neck chain, interpreted it differently. They saw it as a sign that Joe was starting to realize the magnitude of the challenge he had taken on. It seemed as though he was searching for excuses to avoid going through with a dangerous feat. The growing unease among the crowd led them to plead with Joe, urging him to reconsider. Despite the strong objections and warnings from the onlookers, Joe, having regained his composure, assured them he was perfectly fine. He dismissed their concerns, emphasizing that the tight neck chain was the sole issue. In a resolute manner, he demanded that his staff reapply the chain around his neck, albeit with adjustments to loosen it. Defying the growing apprehension around him, Joe insisted on proceeding with the stunt. Reluctantly, his staff, influenced by his determination, proceeded to readjust the chain and placed him back inside the coffin. Once back inside the coffin, Joe was securely chained again. The lid was closed, and with a mix of anticipation and unease, he signaled his readiness to begin. The crowd, filled with curiosity, watched as the hole was gradually filled with dirt. A cement truck arrived and poured wet cement on top of the dirt. With the hole fully filled, the onlookers, including Joe's family, approached the grave, their eyes fixed on the eerie spectacle unfolding before them. Amidst the intense anticipation of the onlookers and the camera crew, a startling event transpired. The cement inside the hole unexpectedly collapsed, causing the lid of the coffin to break under the immense weight of the dirt and wet cement. Joe was engulfed by the dirt and cement, burying him alive in an instant. Quickly realizing the gravity of the situation, the onlookers sprang into action, starting to dig Joe out from beneath the soil. It took them a painstaking 30 minutes. Regrettably, their efforts were in vain, for by the time they reached Joe, it was too late. Tragically, his life had been lost on the precise 64th anniversary of Houdini's passing, adding a cruel twist of irony to the event. After a comprehensive investigation, it was discovered that Joe had failed to adequately test the resilience of his plastic coffin against the weight of wet cement. His previous tests had solely involved dirt, relying on his previous year's attempt for reference. Moreover, Joe had overlooked a crucial detail. Cement dries from the bottom up, making it an even more challenging escape. Even if Joe had successfully managed to get out of the coffin, the hardening cement would have presented a formidable challenge in his escape. Joe's audacious attempt to surpass Houdini and secure his own legacy ended in tragedy. The audience, once filled with anticipation, now mourns the loss of a man whose lofty ambitions had led to his untimely demise. Driven by unwavering confidence and a deep desire to surpass Houdini, Joe willingly embraced the evident risks. He held Houdini in the highest esteem as one of the greatest escape artists, firmly believing he could surpass him. Sadly, his ambition brought him perilously close to achieving his goal, but ultimately led to his tragic demise.